Hi everyone, wondering what kind of markers you should buy and where to buy them? Okay, so this is how we start with markers. I would say don't go and buy the markers when you go to like Walmart, Target, any of those stores. They would have markers that are meant for like little kids, but they're not like actual designer markers that would create wonderful, beautiful sketches. I'm pretty sure good artists could create like wonderful art with them, but that's not what they're meant to do. So if you can buy, let's say if you go to Walmart and buy a set of markers, it's like $5 and you get like 30 different colors. Those markers will dry on you. They won't give you the smooth color transitions that you're looking for. So I would say go with designer markers. They get a lot more expensive. They're like maybe $3 to $5 per marker, but the difference is huge. Another very important thing is that you use marker paper. Marker paper, it's essential for sketching with markers. It will save you so much money. I'll give you a whole tutorial about them on another video, but let's just say that with regular paper and you use your markers, you will kill your markers after maybe 2 or 3 sketches. If you use marker paper, you can do probably 40 to 50 sketches with those markers before they dry out. So it's very important that you switch to marker paper. It's a little tricky working with markers, but once you get them, you get more comfortable with them, they are fantastic. It's a technique that all designers use, car designers, industrial designers, a lot of fashion sketching artists. That's their favorite medium because it's a wonderful medium to work with. So you want to get started and you don't want to spend $300 on markers to have like beautiful color set. I would say keep it simple. The best advice that I can give you is going to be this. Yes, grayscale. Let's start gray. You don't need all the colors. The most important thing about a sketch, it's before you go into all the color, is that you get a lot of contrast. They have whites, blacks, and that you control the light. It's kind of like photography. It's very important to control the lights. Gray markers, you can decide which way the light is coming, where's the shadows, which surfaces are doing what. All you need to get started is gray markers. I'll put a few links below on what markers you could buy. So this is the markers that I use the most. I just got a whole set of different gray markers that I'm gonna try out. So different sets. And the way gray markers work, it's simple. They go 0 will be white and 10 will be black. So you get, sometimes it's in percentage, sometimes it's just a number. So you get 10%, which is almost white, to 20%, 30, 50% is right in the middle between white and gray, 60, 70, 80. 80 is like a very dark gray. 90 is almost impossible to tell from black unless you put black next to it. And then you got the number 10, which is black. So I would say go grayscale because it's tricky to work with color at first. So we'll go into that in other tutorials, but we're gonna keep it simple with gray markers. Another great tip that I can give you, if you're gonna buy your markers, you can buy them in a box and it's a set of 10 markers, or you can buy them individually, which I think most stores sell them individually. So they start with a number, right? So you got 1, 2, 3, and so forth, right? So you got, a lot of them will have the numbers on the front of the marker. And then another very good tip that I can give you is instead of buying 10 markers and spending $30 on it, which is the 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, all that until you get to 100, it's a lot easier if you skip one. So what I do, it's I got 10%, 30%, 50%, 70%, 90%, and black, right? So I'm skipping one marker, and then on the light side, which is a lot harder to get like a smooth transition, I would actually sometimes get the 20%. So my markers will be 10, 20, 30, and then I skip 50, 70, 90, and black. The reason I do that is because if you put your 30% marker and then your 50, there's like a gap on color, right? So you got like the light gray and the darker gray, and that gap is at 40%. If you wait for the 30% to dry and then you go back over it, it will get a lot darker. So it would almost look like a virtual 40%. So you can skip markers because if you wait for them to dry and then go with a light marker again on top of that, you will get that mid-tone in between markers. So with markers, it's very important to get transitions between markers. So you don't want to have like where it looks obvious that it's a jump in color, because most things in life have like a transition of colors. I'll do another tutorial on that, but like if you look at my shirt is one solid color, but if you look, it has like a lighter color and then it changes tone as it goes to the other side where the light hits it. Same with my hat, all those things. So in life, it's almost impossible to get something that is a solid color to look exactly the same color all the way around. So it's very important to get your marker transitions and understand that. So when you're sketching, even though you're doing something that is a solid color, make sure you throw in a few different markers in there. Very important is keep your markers organized. If you keep them organized, you can work a lot faster, because the trick with markers is to work them while the paper is still wet. So don't wait for the marker to dry before you go to the next one, because if you switch markers quick enough, you will still grab some of that wet ink that is remaining from the last marker you used, and that would transfer to the new marker, and that would give you like a way smoother transition. And what I do is I work from light to dark, and then sometimes I come back from the dark back to the light. So basically, I'm gonna just throw 2 lines, nice and quick, 1, 2, and I'm gonna work my transition with the marker. So I'm gonna go with the lighter number 10 or number 1, if depending which scale you're working on. But basically I'll go 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 10, okay? Set them up in order in front of me. So then when I start doing those transitions, I don't have to be looking for them. They're already organized, so I just know to grab the next one and the next one and the next one. That's very important. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, black, okay? So first you go with a 1, right? And don't be scared. I've seen a lot of people kind of like put it like really nice and slow, but don't be scared to like get that wet, because that's how you get the actual tone that you're looking for. Like when you're painting a wall, if you just put like one brush, it's not going to be the exact same color that they sold you. It's until you do a few layers or you actually like really put it like really saturate that pigment is when you get the tone that you're looking for. So that's number 1. That's number 2. I'll go, another trick to do is it's speed. With speed, the faster you move, the less pigment it leaves on the paper. Look at that transition, that's a 1 and that's a 3. So I got like a virtual 2 right there. And then three. Look how I switch markers quick. You can see that the marker is still drying in between. 5, 7, 9, and black, which is 10. So you see, you get that smooth transition. You want to make it like even like a smoother transition where you don't see where you change markers, because right now you can still see a little bit. What I do now is I work it backwards. So I grab my 9 and I try to go in the line between the 9 and the 10. Then I grab my 7, and look how I keep them in order. So that's a lot easier for me to find them back. And I work, you just drag them back towards the lighter color and pick up some of that color before it dries. That's very important. So you can see, hopefully in the camera, you can still see the color. I just dropped my 1 to the floor. Okay, since I dropped my marker to the floor, it took me too long. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab the 3 again. I'm gonna get it wet. So that way when I grab my number 1, it's dragging some of that color. And that's how you get a transition. So it's very important to blend the markers. Blending, they sell marker blenders. To be honest, I don't use them. I've seen some people use them. I just got used to working with my markers and the speed of my hand to match those colors that I want to do. But most other markers that you find that is not the brand F markers would be alcohol base. I'm gonna try that same exercise, but with the alcohol markers, and see the results that we get. So we get 2 lines just to. So with this marker set, I actually have the whole range of color, and I'll show you the difference so you can see the transition to see if it looks better. So you have, like I said, this one starts actually with a 0, which is basically a blender. So it has no pigment, and what it does, it gets the marker and the paper wet so you can transition from one color to the other. 2 lines that I just threw in super quick, and what I'm gonna do is I have my markers ready to go. Also, These markers are double-ended, so they have two tips. So make sure you're ready to open the right side of the marker, because you don't want the thin little pointy pen. You see one side has like a gray stripe and the other one doesn't. So we'll start with the number 1. Number 2. Notice how I repeat my strokes a lot more farther back to the right, because I want my color to get darker towards that side, so I get a smoother transition. 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we go to 10, which is basically black. You can see with that angle of the camera, like a low angle where the paper is still kind of wet, still drying, and that makes a big difference when you're working. You want to work them when they're still wet so you can move colors around. The other important thing when you're going to buy your gray marker set for you to understand is that there's two kinds of gray markers. So you have warm grays and you have cool grays. I will start working with the cool grays. The warm grays are a little more brown. Let me grab a set of warm grays so you can see the difference. So they're both grays. There's warm grays and cool grays. I think if you're just gonna buy one set of markers, I would go with the cool grays. So I'm gonna work the warm grays next to the cool grays so you get an idea of how different they look. So to tell apart the cool grays from the warm grays, at least with the art markers, they're marked the same, they have the numbers, but what changes is that these guys are, the numbers are in red. A set of cool grays and a set of warm grays. Make sure you close your markers, make sure you put the cap back on them nice and tight, so that way when you open them and you start doing a sketch and that's the color you need and you open it, you don't get a dry color, because that's a horrible feeling. You can get wonderful results just working in gray. You don't have to always work with color. So that's like marker 101. Hopefully this helps you, this helps you decide which markers you want to buy, where you want to buy them, and get started with it. And I'll do more tutorials about basic shapes, basic lighting, and also basic marker and marker transitions. Hope this helps.